A very good morning to you from my morning to your whatever time of day, wherever on the earth you are. Good morning. Got the beautiful morning sun, the eastern sun. It's autumn time here in Australia, and yeah, I love the sun at this time of year. It's beautiful. Anyway, enough raving about that. I would like to I feel compelled to talk with you about intuition, the deepest knowing inside of yourself and how important it is to follow that. It's a very uncertain planet, and also all of us have been through, so many traumas. We've been let down so many times, manipulated, abused, tricked. I don't know. It really depends on you exactly what's gone through. But I mean, I know anyone can relate to it. Like, it's not so easy to trust people and to feel safe here. So I think there's like this default mechanism that a lot of us, which exists in a lot of us, which is, we want to feel safe, and so we feel safe in numbers, so places where we belong, like, it might be family, might be our nation, our culture, our religion, a sports group, there's all sorts of, certain friendships. So that when these fall away, we feel like a bit, in the earlier stages of development, we feel, it feels lonely and everything because, really what drives us? It's love. And, love is found with other people and in that companionship and in that, this unconditional acceptance. And what we're looking for is that unconditional acceptance, but it's not so easy. It's not so easy to come across, It's because we're all different levels of messed up, and and even some really beautiful, good-hearted people. Like the friction just happens, the conflict, and bang, another relationship, another connection bites the dust, and I can't begin to tell you how many relationships, how many connections, how many groups that I've left during, the course of my 56 or so years on this planet. There's been a lot. So, there have been times where it was very lonely, I really walked alone, like truly like a tiger or, a lone wolf. But I had to start, trusting in people and trusting in humanity, but also acclimatizing to this balance within, which is both, I'm both comfortable being alone, but also finding the balance of healthy sort of connections with other people, like not too much, not dependent on others, being able to resolve my issues and my problems, independently of another person. And the younger I was, the more I'd sort of depend on someone, like, help me, please. And yeah. And so, I'll come back to the following, your intuition, your inner path, and the importance of that. So essentially, when we're in group environments, there is like a collective identity that forms around a group environment. And with this collective identity comes, there's all of these accepted ways to behave. We are this, we are that, and this is what our commonality is. And if you don't really fit into that, or then you can be rejected and not be a part of that group any longer, whether you reject and you walk away, or whether or whether, you know, you are pushed out of that group environment. And I think it might be easier for me to talk about my own personal experience here, like, because I've just got something sort of, very direct on my mind, and it's just easier to tell the personal story. So, you know, I am a part of an Ascended Master Students community, and I was a part of like a Facebook community group, and initially it was exactly what I wanted and needed, this experience of being a part of the group. And I was able to develop friendships and a lot of unique, close connections. But eventually I just was not comfortable with the collective identity of the group. It just felt like there was a certain absence of love there and genuine compassion, like there was more of an overlay which was coming from, you know, this mental sort of intellectual, analytical place where, you know, it was all about resolving psychology, and sort of it was missing the love part, which is, you know, that's what I was after. And so, you know, eventually I felt like, well, this no longer serves me, so I left. And in a way, you know, I feel like, wow, here we go, I'm the tiger again, you know, walking alone. But I feel no anger or resentment or anything like that. But what I'm feeling is like this sense of, like, you know, being able to walk alone, to really sort of get in touch with my divine plan, what it is I want to do on the earth, and to express that. And I'm realizing, you know, while I'm holding identities that pull me in different directions to, you know, a group environment or whatever it might be, while I'm sort of letting myself get pulled out there, I'm forgetting who I am and what I have to give to the world and what I would like to express. So by walking away and, you know, stepping into my own path here, I've been able to sort of discover myself, you know, really trust my intuition. And sometimes it's not so easy. Like, you know, when your intuition tells you something that you don't really want to know, you don't really want to hear it, you know, there's some messages that we get, you know, it might be surrounding, you know, a particular person in our life, and all of a sudden we realize, oh, they're not who I thought they were, you know, and it can be kind of disheartening when, you know, firstly you realize, like, oh, you know, I deceived myself in regards to this connection. And B, like, you know, there we go, you know, another person I have to let go of out of my life. And you know, this sense of like feeling like, oh, you know, maybe there's failure, or maybe a sense of feeling alone, whatever it might be. So, you know, that following the path of your inner path, your intuition, it's not always so easy, because it's not necessarily a nice experience when you awaken to something that's rather an ugly reality, or an ugly reality in your life. And when you see that, you know, imagine, like, you know, when you're in a relationship that's imbalanced, that's, you know, that's where someone has actually been harming you for quite some time, and you've been allowing it, and then when you awaken to it, it's like, oh, you know, it's quite crushing to sort of realize, wow, you know, I allowed this. And but also, you know, as you heal and as you move onwards, you know, that sense of liberation and freedom, and, you know, remembering, you know, discovering, you know, your light, you know, like finding that again in yourself, that it's such a beautiful experience. So the inner path is not always, it's not really the easiest path to take, you know, it's not a safe path, because, you know, you don't know what lies ahead. But there is a magic to it, you know, there is a magic as you discover aspects of yourself, and you discover your true talents, your true desires, and begin to manifest those in your life. And the great thing is that the people, the love connections that you have built, they will always be there. But you've got to take that chance and forge those connections, because without, if you don't open up your heart and yourself to connecting with other people, then, well, how can you expect to find love in your life, You've got to be prepared to have your heart broken, again and again and again, but also, your heart will be filled up, because not every connection is a failure. Like, it's quite natural. Even some, relationships dissolve, and, the other person isn't necessarily an abusive person. It's just like, you just don't gel, it's no big deal. Like, we don't get on with everyone. So therein lies my thoughts on intuition and belonging and relationships, and the rather solo path of following intuition. It's not a popularity contest. It's not what it seems.